5012 AD. The year mankind's glorious history came to a sudden and abrupt end, when the world was invaded by aliens from beyond the stars. The aliens unleashed a new breed of weapon, machine life forms, that all but annihilated human civilization. The handful of survivors that remained fled from Earth, seeking refuge on the moon. 5204 AD. Humanity launched its counterattack, deploying an army of androids from a network of orbiting bases. But after more than a dozen large-scale descents upon the enemy, we still haven't managed to repel the invaders. That is why you, the Yorha forces, exist. To break this stalemate, once and for all. You are our ultimate weapon, and you must put an end to this war.
Understood, sir.
I wish you good hunting.
Glory to mankind! Glory to mankind!
Glory to mankind.
Alright everyone, and welcome back to my Nier Automata Very Hard guided walkthrough. In the previous episode we made it through the prologue until we finally reached our first save point after about half an hour of not getting hit. Well, fortunately save points are a lot more common from now on. So, let's head back to Earth.
Hey 2B, why do you think they sent a combat model like you to a recon job? If all they want is intel, we scanner models are built for that kind of thing.
Orders are orders.
Alright.
Alright, another flying section and a rather short one, so there's not too much to say about this part. One thing I do need to mention for the entirety of Route A is that I will have 9S permanently on passive. So he's along for the ride, but he won't actually do anything. The main reason is to add some extra challenge, but there is actually also a benefit to it. As you know, this game is an action RPG, but it is very much focused on the RPG element. Levels mean a lot in this game, and in my opinion they matter actually way too much. Now the thing is that 9S can actually steal your XP, in the sense that you only receive XP for enemies that you kill yourself. So having 9S on passive does indeed limit your firepower, but it also means that you gain levels faster. So in that sense it also makes it easier. However, during boss battles it is very noticeable, because not only will you do way less damage by yourself, but 9S is also great at distracting the boss. And when he's on passive, you won't even have that benefit. So this is not the first time I've beaten the game on very hard, but I actually had a way harder time in this playthrough than on my first time going through very hard mode. Because back then I had 9S on aggressive for all boss fights, and I did each and every side quest and farmed for the best chips. So I went through the game like a true glass cannon. Not this time though. I do make sure to not get underleveled, but I'm not grinding or farming for anything. Nor do I intend to use cheese strategies. So if you're watching this to get to know how to have the easiest possible time getting through the game on this level of difficulty, well then you have to pay close attention to what I say rather than what I show gameplay wise. Because I will discuss various ways to get overpowered and cheese some of the bosses, but I kinda hate doing that myself, because it sort of defeats the purpose of playing on very hard in the first place. So there are certain items, chips, programs and tactics that I won't use myself in this playthrough.
Target location acquired. Marking on map. Proposal. Proceed to target location.
So basically I'm using certain restrictions for myself. But I'll get more into that later on in the game.
Hey 2B!
You're... number 2.
You know about 2B?
Yes, well, the bunker told me to expect you. My name is Anemone. I'm the leader of the android resistance that controls most of this territory. You must be the new scouts we heard about. Well, I'm sure my people will have plenty of information for you. Please feel free to ask them anything you like.
Alright, first order of business is of course to reclaim our previous body and get the Virtuous 3D back. However, I actually will be switching over to a different set of weapons pretty soon, but for now let's stick to the original set. So we have the combination of a small sword and a great sword, which is pretty effective, but it's actually not my favorite combination. So for the most part of 2B's campaign, you will actually see me use a combination of 2 small swords and 2 specific versions to be precise. And I'll explain why exactly in the next episode. Regardless, great swords have their benefits as well. As I said in the previous part, you can basically use it to create a safe zone all around you, and these attacks are also great against groups of small enemies. And in instances where you can only get a single attack in before you need to move out of the way, having the greatsword as your primary weapon allows you to make that single attack really count, because of the extra damage in comparison to a small sword. Okay, so we're a bit further ahead already. I did the 2 quests for the weapons trader and the items trader, and I've upgraded both my weapons to level 2. So we're in the desert now and on our way to the first boss fight after the prologue. But there are at least 2 items that are important to pick up first. Namely a Shockwave Chip and Pod C, that's the one with the missiles. Now Shockwave is absolutely completely essential in a very hard playthrough. It's without a doubt the most important chip because it provides range for your melee attacks. It's weaker than when your swords physically come in contact with the enemy, but even if it's merely the shockwave itself, it still means that you can use melee attacks while keeping a bit of distance between you and your enemy. And when every attack is an instant kill, that will be a major benefit.
These machines are talking.
Yeah, I heard from the Resistance that they've been seeing this a lot lately. Couldn't tell you why, though.
Yeah, it's an interesting take on the androids' perspective, because they see themselves as completely distinct from the machines, whereas we the players would say that androids are simply machines as well, they just have different creators. But they are essentially the same type of being. So if the androids are conscious and have emotions, there's no particular reason why the machines would be any different. But the androids themselves don't see it that way, or more likely, that's what they are being taught. Because you aren't exactly the good guys in this game. You're also not doing evil for evil's sake, but you are more akin to a soldier slaughtering innocents simply because you are ordered to do so. And you're not supposed to question command. And by the way, here is Pod C. Let me show you the exact location on the map. Okay, that's not really helpful, because I need to unlock the access point first to get the map data. Anyway, it's not that hard to find, and I assume you already know where it is anyway. Alright, so as I was saying, you are told it's for the greater good, and it's a common tactic in war to dehumanize the enemy, so you won't regard them as having the same value. That's more or less what's going on here as well. You're slaughtering innocent machines who are essentially merely defending themselves, and you are told that it's all for the greater good, to reclaim the Earth for humanity. And that there's no moral issue, because the machines don't have feelings anyway. They merely mimic human speech and human emotions. And therefore, it's not a problem to just wipe them out. It's actually a bit peculiar when some people miss that fact, that you are not the good guys, and that Adam and Eve aren't exactly the villains either. In fact, you can't really say that they do anything evil at all, because it's all in response to your actions. They attack you because you attacked them, not the other way around. You made yourself their enemy, or even worse, you caused their creation in the first place.
Droid, exterminate. Enemy.
Scared. Enemy. Scared.
Do you think they even understand the concept of being scared?
So, now we have acquired Pod C. Now, I actually don't use this one that much, but for the final phase of the fight against Adam, it's really useful, because that is an instance where you have to focus on dodging and don't have the opportunity to aim. But apart from that, there's another reason to acquire all 3 pods as soon as possible, and that's the fact that you can charge your pod programs the more pods you have. Each program has a stronger effect the longer you hold L2 or whatever button it is on the standard control setting. Because as I said in the previous episode, I prefer to use custom controls.
What's with the weird-looking outfits?
I've seen that sort of thing when I was going through some old data. It looks like what humans used to wear long ago. Certain human collectives used to use face paint like that, too.
Alright, and there we have a Shockwave Chip. I was pretty lucky to get it that quickly, but they are a pretty common drop from the enemies in the desert area. To be, it's fine. Their speech doesn't mean anything. They're just emitting words at random. If they wanted help, why would they be attacking us?
Yeah.
How about self-defense, perhaps, 9S? It's not that far-fetched, don't you think? A bird with a leek stalk may be far-fetched, but enemies attacking you when you are attacking them is not, especially when your species are at war. Okay, I just picked up a taunt chip, so that's a good opportunity to bring up some of the abilities that I will not be using in this playthrough. Taunt is an extremely powerful ability for very hard mode, because depending on the level of the chip, it can like double, triple or quadruple your attack strength. Now the drawback usually is that it also lowers your defenses by that same amount. But you die in one hit anyway and very hard. So that means that there are no drawbacks on this difficulty. But for that reason I choose not to use them. But perhaps you have a different opinion. It can make you ridiculously overpowered. And in case you may not know, every character can use taunt, not just A2. For 2B and 9S you need to mash L3 until your flashlight enrages the enemy. That is what activates the taunt ability for 2B and 9S.
It's heading for that rocky area.
Individual target ID marked.
What's that?
Analysis. It is the ruin of a former human residential area. Large numbers of humans resided in such concrete and metal shelters. The structures were referred to by names such as apartment complex.
Alright, so when you get to this area as 9S, there is this short little cutscene that plays. And I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to mean. It speaks about a god rising from a volcano. And it kind of relates that event to the machines requiring emotions and seeking meaning to their existence. But I'm not quite sure to what event that is actually referring to and how it relates to this specific area. To be fair, there's a lot about the story that I don't really understand that much. And I think that goes for a lot of people. Which would actually be quite interesting to figure out as a community, but that doesn't actually happen that much for this game, unfortunately. Anyway, be that as it may, I will actually not be showing most of 9S's campaign, because it's mostly the same as 2B's campaign. So I don't think I can add that much interesting information to it. But at least I will be showing the first section of 9S's campaign. But after that I will continue the series on in Route C.
Target confirmed. Let's get him.
Okay, as I said before, I will be switching to a different set of weapons pretty soon. And here to the left you can find the Fang of the Twins greatsword. Now you may think that most weapons are practically the same, and that's actually pretty accurate. But there are a few weapons that have a major benefit over others. Namely the ones that add critical attacks. Fang of the Twins is a greatsword with that ability, and I've already purchased the Ancient Overlord, which is one of the two small swords that have critical attacks. At least after upgrading them once. And as I said before, I will mostly use a combination of two small swords. So in the next episode I will collect the other small sword that has critical attacks. Now you might not even know how powerful this ability is, and neither did I until I did a melee only playthrough, where I couldn't use any pathfire. And that's when I found out about critical attacks. So basically it works like this. There is a random element to how much damage each attack does. That's why each weapon displays a range of attack power rather than a fixed number. But the critical ability means that every few attacks, that's also random, you get a critical hit, which is displayed in orange numbers and makes a sort of breaking sound. And a critical hit does like between 5 or 8 times the amount of damage of a regular hit. So that's an incredible damage boost. And it even works when you merely hit your opponent with a shockwave. Although in my experience it seems like that lowers the chances of getting a critical. There are also chips that boost your criticals, but that's like adding 1%, 2%, 4% chance to get a critical, so that's not really worth it. Alright, so now all these enemies are dead. It's a smart move to move back to where you can save. Because if you die before the checkpoint at the boss, that means you won't have to kill all these enemies again.
Run. Not this way.
I wonder what makes them choose these words.
These are android bodies.
Hypothesis. They were killed by local machine life forms.
What are they doing here?
Unknown.
It's like they were gathered here. There it goes!
They don't give up. Run. Run. Must run.
Multiple machines detected ahead. But what's with these android bodies?
Stay focused.
Child.
What is this?
I suppose they weren't sure if the game was Japanese enough, so they included a robot orgy. Makes sense. This part is timed, so it's not about how many robots you kill. The only thing that matters is that you take out the robot with the mission marker on it. After that, the amount of machines will increase until the cutscene starts.
Human speech. Let's take them out.
Feed me. Love. I'll get you for this. Kill the androids. Kill. Destroy. I love you. Kill. Hatred. Pain. Slaughter. This cannot continue. 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 This cannot continue.
What's happening?
An android?
No! This is a machine!
Alright, the first fight against Adam. As you know, he gains more abilities throughout the fight, so there's not much to say about the first phases. Just keep attacking until he levels up.
androids. Why? Fight.
He has like one attack in the second phase, which he rarely does, so still not much of a threat. Okay, now he is getting dangerous. And you specifically need to watch out for his shield, because after it breaks and you attack, you'll see a red flash, meaning that he will deflect your attack back at you. And it's basically like a shotgun blast, so it's quite a wide area that turns into a dead zone. So basically, as soon as you see the red flash, dodge as far as you can to the side. And preferably be at a distance. Now if he does this move when you are really close, it's best to dodge diagonally towards him. So not just to the side, but to his side. It's not required because you can just iframe the attack, but it will lower your chances of getting hit, because that gives the best chance that the entire attack will go past you. Okay, now things get dangerous. Switch to pod C so you won't have to worry about aiming. He will start firing at you and he will also make these energy pillars come out of the ground. So make sure to keep moving. The tricky thing with those pillars is that sometimes there will be also one in front of you. So don't just mindlessly dodge sideways. Make sure to watch out what's in front of you. When he gets back on the ground, the fight continues like before, but now he will do those blasts and those energy pillars from time to time. I pretty much rely on my shockwaves and pod fire here. Now you will do a lot more damage up close, but he has some pretty fast melee attacks, so that's a lot less safe. And here you also see what difference it makes to have 9S on passive, because I'm doing pretty shit damage. 9S would pretty much double it. Moreover, Adam is completely focused on me instead of being constantly distracted by 9S. Then again, this is good practice, because when you fight Adam again in the copied city, it will be one-on-one as well.
Is this really a machine? Damn it, not another one.
get out of here! Come on! Through that hole! Stopped. Looks like we're safe now.
What the hell just happened?
I know. I've never seen a machine like that before. We better report this to command.
Okay then, here's where I will end episode 2. That boss fight was sort of okay-ish, but the next episode will include one of my favorite boss fights in this game. And I'm also going to collect the other weapon to complete the 2 sets that I will be using pretty much for most of the game. So, thanks for watching and I hope to see you again in the next episode.